Hey guys, welcome to the CableCast. My name, of course, is Caleb Ryor, better known to some as Cable. And this week I'm joined by two new guests to the cast, more good friends of mine from the VGC scene. First off, we got Super Smash Bros. 64 commentator and habitual VGC battler of, occasional regionals here and there, Andrew Burley. Andy, say hi to everyone.
Hi everyone, I'm so glad to play this game sometimes. I'm clearly not a player anymore. That's okay, I'm just a guest, just guest starring from another game.
No, Andy, you're a VGC player. Don't worry. Don't worry about what anyone else says. And joined by Andy, of course, people can see on the screen. This time we do have Tommy Cooleen joining us, the 777 Lucky Duck player. That's what I've written down about you. It was 3 sevens at Internats, right?
There was 3 sevens. It was the jackpot.
Perfect. Jackpot. Cool.
How you out here saying my new friends to the podcast when you had Andy on like 2 weeks ago?
No, it wasn't a podcast. That was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Isolated episode.
You're new friend to the show. I got you. I follow now.
Yes. And then the other note I have is that Tommy Cooleen creates over half of both Andy and I's teams any given year. So
yes,
you can't confirm. All right, cool. We can get those introductions out of the way.
It's my second appearance in the CableVerse, but
yes, but the first time on the CableCast. So
we finally have a crossover episode.
All right, on our docket we got Australia just happened, so we want to talk about that. But the other big deal, I would say, is Series 3 coming up. The big news. I know we were a lot of the rules doc. We were worried about like if we could use the Alolan forms when we'd have hidden abilities like legal and stuff. People were worried about that for Australia. And so, they come up, they clarify it, and then we get that big @PlayPokemon Twitter tweet, which I did not think any of this would be, like, announced on Twitter.
Bombs now.
But it's like, it was specifically Pokemon such as, I forget the tweet itself. Did they list Incineroar?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it was like...
Did.
It goes,
it was like, Bulbasaur and all their evolved forms,
Yes.
all the
So
starters.
Bulbasaur, Squirtle, what's the pre-evolution? Whatever. Primarina, Decidueye, and Incineroar. Those are the Pokemon we get, plus Galarian Slowpoke, if you want to use that. But, yes, they are also going to be legal for... Before we go on to Australia, I just want to talk about the logistics of why these Pokemon are legal. I find is, like, the silliest thing ever. Just because they happen to be coded in the game.
I think it's a little bit more like in the middle. They want to do this whole changing formats thing, and like just to keep it simple because they are technically able to be transferred into the game, and there's no way to like stop them from being like flooded into the game now.
Right, and they can be bred, which with the
they want to keep
symbol.
it simple for people. I think is more of like along the lines of like why they ended up letting them in. If it was in previous years, like we had like hard formats at the beginning of the year that didn't change throughout the entirety of the year. If it was more along that lines, there's no way they would be legal. The only thing that might be legal is the Alolan forms and like the new hidden abilities and stuff. But because they're doing the changing format over the year, like I think it makes a lot more sense.
Okay, if you give them that much credit, in my opinion, I think it's simply because, well, all right, this is like kind of a stretch, but you know how in Series 2 on Battle Stadium, solar power Charizard was with GMax was legal, but like in the official rules it isn't. I see it more as like a coding perspective from Game Freak's end, where like these Pokemon are possible with the Galar symbol. Like it was going to be too much of a hassle to make them.
I think they could have changed the ladder. Like we constantly get like custom formats for like battle spot competitions.
Right.
So I don't think it's a matter of like they couldn't change it or like they didn't want to change it. It was just like it's a simplicity thing. Pokemon like simplicity. They don't like complicated things. They just want to say, okay, can you get the Pokemon into the game? Can you breed it in Alola so they can't have their moves, or in Galar so they can't have the moves from the previous games? If yes, then fine. Like let them in, let them be free.
All right, fair enough. I'll give you that. I'm just glad that I mean, we have the Galar symbol because if it was Pokemon that were coded in the game, I don't want to be dealing with like Terrakion right now already. Like, oh my goodness. But well, that's for later. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Like, you thought my beat up stuff was like everywhere before in like December, but all right, let's
not even the worst.
Wait, Terrakion's not even the worst. Oh, well, let's not spoil.
We'll talk
I
about
remember.
it later.
I remember. Yes.
We'll talk about it later.
All right, let's go into this VGC 2020. Series 2 Oceania Internationals. Did you guys watch the stream? Enjoy it? I know I did.
I watched what I could. I had to work like during most of it. But whenever I came home, I tried to catch what I could before bed. But man, it was going late, so
I was staying up for 2 a.m. for like Edu and Raghav. I had to cheer them on.
I was entirely uninterested until I found out that one of my like lifelong friends in VGC Nahal was doing well.
Mm-hmm.
So then, of course, I had to go check out how he was doing, and then the other stuff happened. But like,
so did
really,
did you start watching before or after the Twitch clip?
After,
of course. Okay.
I honestly didn't know about it until the day after.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew is that I wanted to start watching because, like, one of my friends that I still talk to pretty often in our group chat was like doing well. So I wanted to check on, see how he was doing, and then
he got fourth with a team he just stumbled upon. It's good.
Sometimes teams just fall into your lap one way or another.
That's true.
Yeah, talk about being honest. Like you take like 9 out of 10 other VGC players, and they would have been like, yeah, I had some help with my friends, and we came up with this.
We saw some other people were doing something similar.
Yeah.
It's like
I ran into some ladder, and I figured I'd try the same 6, and said it was no. We found this password, and we got the basement.
It's crazy.
It was a generic password.
And honestly, as like a builder myself, like that's like the number one thing that I'd want somebody else to do. It's like, I don't even care if you like give me credit for a team that I build. It's literally just about like, don't say that you made it if you didn't.
Right. Yeah. Don't
recognize. And like, by
recognize
him
it
coming
as
out and
your own.
say that, like, I know that Case you build the team was just kind of like cool. Give like the full sign of approval.
Yeah, Case handled it really well. Like he tweeted out this
Like,
is
what can you do at that
officially a
point?
Nihal Stan account.
I mean, that specific team too. Like it had 2 appearances in the top 8 at the internet, so like it's pretty impressive. It's not like it was some like run of the mill team that you just happen to like the sets for. It's like because you have those like Pokemon that no one else is using, you gotta talk about it. Like Gengar Bisharp being the duo that everyone seemed to be talking about in the days leading up to that.
Bisharp is good, man.
Honestly, I was surprised no one was using it at least early on, because we know how good Steel Spike is and Defiant is. Like, I guess it would just die even when it's maxed, but now we're using stuff like Durant, which dies when it's maxed anyways. But
yeah,
we're in a weird spot in the meta. Although the title of last month's episode, it was a lot of Togekiss, but I'm just counting. I'm counting the amount of teams without Togekiss at this event. In the top 64, I count 17 teams without Togekiss, and only 1 in the top 8.
Yeah,
the team that ended up winning. So
yeah, I'm not surprised in the slightest.
Yeah,
it's a good Pokemon.
I do want to publicly apologize to people out there for my behavior on Twitter, saying such blasphemous things as Clefairy and Clefable meaning anything for the format. Like, I was just excited to have them back, but
yeah.
So let me. We can talk about this later when we get into the new mons and abilities and such.
Well, we can talk about the abilities now, like hidden abilities, yeah.
So, the thing with Clefable specifically is that I mean, if you know me, I love playing like hard setup stuff. I want to like do like crazy stuff. I want to set up like this one boss mon and like do stuff with that. This format does not allow for that. Like you need to be doing your things on turn 1 to like be competitive in the format. So like taking a turn to like redirect with friend guard clef, like there's not a single mon in this format right now that gives you enough value on turn 2 that makes up for not like doing something active on turn 1.
Right.
And like I think that's a really big reason why like clef hasn't, or like Clefairy specifically hasn't seen a lot of play.
I was actually looking. There were exactly 2 Clefairy from my count that got CP at Australia, but they were both in top 64.
Yeah, I think the Clefable's kind of interesting just because I think Unaware is a really interesting ability in this format. I don't know that it'll ever be like relevant or like, you know, do well at a tournament, but it's one of the ones that like I'd be like I could definitely see it doing well if somebody found like the right kind of like thing that it fits on, just like being able to like redirect things after they boost, because like while I said, you know, not a lot of things like hard set up in this format, things are boosting because of the max moves, so like being able to take like boosted hits is like pretty important. But like even the Togekiss that we're seeing now, it's like it's hard to compare them to like the Clefs because the Togekiss we're seeing is Crit Kiss. Like we're seeing a Scope Lens Kiss like everywhere. Like there's
Babiri there too.
There's a few Babiri, but like a lot of the Kiss that we're seeing are like more offensively invested and trying to do stuff along that line. So it's a lot harder to like compare it to a Clef now because they transitioned like so far away from each other in terms of like similarities between the mons. Like I said, they run follow me, but it's like it's just there because it's a good move. It's the fake out effect. Like you run it just because it's so good that you don't drop it from the set.
Right.
Yeah, I mean we saw like Yusuke using ally switch on it, which like kind of serves the same purpose. And honestly, if the Clefs do arrive, I wouldn't be surprised if people are actually pairing them with like Togekiss, because Togekiss like it doesn't have to serve that purpose anymore.
I didn't want to bring up NPA too much just because like I want more NPA centric episode when we have more NPA to have, you know, content to talk about. But the rollouts, Pato fought Kazuki and he had Nasty Plot, Togekiss plus Clef, and we got ran over. Like it was not close. Yeah, that was
nice.
That was not a lead or like plan we were anticipating, and just the thought of that being existent in the meta terrifies me. Outside of that set, it's just like it's been so like Togekiss has always been like a support Pokemon, but it's in like singles, it's an offensive threat. Like this is like the first time offensive Togekiss has been a thing in VGC, right? I'm trying to think, like maybe like
basically
2009
like
or something, but yeah.
You just look at the moves that Togekiss has run historically. Like we've never seen Fairy move, we've never seen Dazzle, we've never seen Flamethrower, like or Heat Wave or any of the other.
Well, we saw that before it became
like
a fairy
super
type.
Rare in like 13, like
13 and 12.
Yeah,
I mean,
like Scissor.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of old Togekiss, like
it also
used
had
to have
Tailwind
for one thing. So like Tailwind Follow Me was taking up 2 slots right away. So it didn't really make much sense.
And then the ability was just, you know, Sir Green Grace all the time.
That's the other thing to note, though. We're running Super Luck at the cost of dropping Serene Grace Air Slash, which happens to be like really, really strong.
Yeah.
But like
I think it's warranted because max moves don't get the boost from that, but also Dynamax Pokemon can't be flinched. So it's like
it's that it lost Tailwind, so that it's not going to be fast in a lot of the things, so it's flinching a lot less. Like you can make up for that because Kiss still does get Thunder Wave, but it's just like not as good as like Tailwind was, obviously.
For sure. Now we were talking about hidden abilities. Like this is a Series 2 thing because it was legal in Series 2. We don't have the like Alolan forms in the cat yet, but I'm trying to think. Were there any other like hidden abilities we saw? Oh, Gotti had Meowstic. Yeah.
Meowstic and Liepard are both legal now.
Yeah. Meowstic is already like doing pretty well from what I've seen.
It's pretty like Grimmsnarl is pretty replaceable by Meowstic on like certain comps, I'd argue.
Yeah, depending on your set, like what you like, if you care about speed, like more speed for your fake out, if that's more valuable than like something like Sucker Punch or Spirit Break, then it's like not much reason to not run Meowstic.
What utility does Meowstic have that Grimmsnarl doesn't? I'm trying to remember.
Imprison, its speed, Trick Room.
Does Grimmsnarl not get Rain Dance? Is that what I'm trying to think?
Yeah, it doesn't get the weather move.
Okay, and that's what Liepard and Meowstic have over that. Okay.
We're going back to 2014. Bring back Soggy Cat.
Oh, Soggy Cat.
I mean, a friend of ours is very happy that Meowstic is back.
Although Meowstic doesn't have Safeguard anymore, which, oh my goodness, that was my favorite set to run.
Wait, does it not?
No, it's not TM anymore.
Oh.
Are you sure?
Well, like, I'm pretty sure Meowstic doesn't...
I think it gets Safeguard, doesn't get Swagger anymore.
It's one of those two, yeah.
Yeah,
it's Swagger.
Swagger's the one that everything lost. Like, there's the only thing that gets them in the format is, like, Grimmsnarl. Yeah. I know, because like one of the first things I wanted to put in the format was like Grimmsnarl with Swagger stuff. I know you've looked into that too. Like you have to run it with Grimmsnarl because Grimmsnarl is like the only thing that gets it right now. Yeah. It's like very like limited things that actually get it.
Unless you want to run like Swagger. I fought Swagger Scrafty before with Mudsdale, and I'm like, yeah, I guess, yeah, because not everything's got Swagger anymore.
How sad.
All right, I don't want to go into like stats and stuff with Australia, but let's talk about like other notable Pokemon. There's a pumpkin we need to talk about. Why is there a pumpkin at 2nd and 3rd place? Like, what is Gourgeist doing here? Tommy, you build teams, you would know, right?
Like, I do know the teams, but I really can't give you a good answer to it. Like, it's a really interesting Pokemon that like, I trust in the hands of two very, very good players. Like, Trick or Treat's a really cool move. And, like, we were able to see, like, you know, I think Raga was pulling off some, like, pretty, like, cool plays and cut with it.
Yep.
But, yeah, I don't know. I can't say I fully understand Pumpkin. It's like, you know, you're adding a Togekiss weakness to, like, the normal Ghost-type Trick Room setters. It's frailer than Dusclops, but... You know, it is a grass type, so take that for what you will against stuff like, I don't know, Rhyperior.
Or Rotom Wash. So, like, I was wrapping my head around this. Yeah. Rotom Wash, going into this event in, like, the preceding weeks, offensive Rotom Wash was, like, the stocks were, like, going super high. Like
offensive and the Dark Pulse move slot.
Yes.
We saw a ton of Dark Pulse because, you know, you use the max move and you're able to... drop the special defense, but most importantly, it gives you a way to hit Gastrodon, which is like...
Well, and Dragapult, notably.
Yeah, and Dragapult. But, like, Gastrodon is, like, a really, really big problem Pokemon for Rotom. So, like, you have to find, like, some way to hit it without, like, just changing to Rotom C because you want to have good typing.
Yeah.
And not be a Rotom C.
Yeah, I see it kind of like with how... like people needed to prepare for Jellicent, I think was the big thing. And maybe that was the call they were making, where if they have their water type that isn't Jellicent and they still want Trick Room, then Gourgeist kind of fills that Trick Room role, that Fire Water Grass role, and you have something that like is electric resistant.
So I agree with that. It's really role consolidation that Gourgeist ends up, because I've been building teams recently. Just I love Fire, Water, Grass, but deciding like if I want my either Fire or Water slots to be Jellicent or Chandelure is like a little hard. Like you want some kind of speed control on a certain types of teams. So Gourgeist, with especially paired with Tyranitar, like we talked about Trick or Treat. Being able to not just boost max darkness, but also give you an immunity to fighting. Like, I don't think we saw that ever on stream.
We did.
Well, onto Tyranitar?
Yeah.
It was on Excadrill. Yeah.
Which is, still valid. Still a very, cool play that he went for. The funny part is, I think that whoever was playing at the time misclicked and, accidentally, used the fighting move into the Gourgeist. So either he was calling a switch or he misclicked, one of the two. But the stream was popping off because like, oh yeah, he trick or treated the X drill and he didn't get hit by the fighting move, and they didn't read the text at the bottom of this. So like, oh, it didn't hit the Pokemon text, and it was like didn't realize in the moment because things were moving so fast that it was it actually went into the Gourgeist. But like, it was still a cool play because he covered his options too. Like that's more of like what I'm trying to get at. Like regardless of like whether or not it went into the correct mon, it still like covered a lot of options.
Yeah. I think another thing with those teams is like they didn't have Whimsicott and something like Chandelure or Jellicent.
Yeah.
Like, you'd want to pair with Whimsicott.
Whimsicott usage definitely went a lot further down in this tournament. Like
still won though.
Well, yes, it still won. Whimsicott also always number one in my heart, but
yeah,
it was like a solidly top 5 Pokemon for most of this early format. For a good reason, with the dynamic speed control change and everything. With the priority Tailwind, it's the only thing that can do that. But I think people are like, I want to run Togekiss, but to run both, you have to run like a certain kind of team, and like momentum-wise, it's a little rough at times. So I get it.
Yeah,
it's sad, but I get it.
I still think the mon is absurdly strong. Like, you mentioned that it does things that nothing else in the format does, and I still think that, Fake Tears is like probably one of the more oppressive strats in the format that also happens to lend itself into using like very, very good mons like Dragapult and Togekiss and Rotom. Like, you get to just like run a good Pokemon, but also have like a very offensive like beatdown mode with Fake Tears. So like I still think Whimsicott is not like going anywhere, even though it didn't have like the strongest tournament.
I think it's a similar deal with like a lot of teams wanting to beat stuff with Whimsicott, so opting not to like run it herself, or like they want their Fake Tears Pokemon to be one of the fake out ones with Prankster to be able to like kind of double tap the Whimsicott. I know that's a lot of people's like kind of turn one game plans against Whimsicott strats. So outside of this, I can't really think of anything else to really talk about regarding the teams. Tommy, I know you wanted to talk about a very special thing that happened in all of our hearts, and the news is eating all up that happened in Australia with the juniors finals, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Like.
That was the interview you were talking about, right? Oh, no, I'm so dumb. You were talking about the Case interview.
I was talking about the Nahal interview.
But they were both...
Case wasn't at that tournament.
The Simone interview is also, like, absolutely adorable. And you actually saw it getting some, like, mainstream esports coverage, which was, like, really, really cool. Like, people that I look up to, like Frodan, like, were tweeting about it. So I was really, like...
I saw, Slasher, Golden Boy, like.
Yeah.
Hopefully that means good things for London Worlds for coverage.
Yeah.
So
at least like 2 more people will enter a tournament, I think, from this coverage.
Nice.
Yeah. You know what? Why not? Let's go Twitter. All right. You guys have any like last thoughts on these stats before we talk about the meat and bones of today?
I don't entirely understand Gengar and Bisharp, but I love that they're there.
All right, Tommy, do we want to talk about that, or is that something like people need to research?
I can give it a really brief breakdown of like things that kind of like lend into being very strong about it.
Yeah.
We have like the dynamic speed control is a big part of that.
Yeah, fast icy wind.
Finger's fast icy wind, which means that it can icy wind into Assurance now on the Bisharp, and you actually get the immediate speed. So Bisharp going to capitalize off of that. Bisharp's really strong into max moves because it gets to turn the drops that it gets into like attack boosts, which because they're not always attacking drops, they can be other sorts of drops, which means that you're not getting the +1, you're getting +2s, which is like much stronger. It's just a very oppressive style of gameplay because like you get put between like the 2 hard places of if I don't max, I'm probably not going to have enough bulk to take the Icy Wind Assurance because Bisharp hits really hard because I can't date it. But if I do max, then I'm giving the Bisharp attack drops or stat drops and potentially boosting its stats, which makes it even harder to deal with. And then on top of that, like Max Darkness lowers special defense, which makes like Gengar even scarier now. So it's just like a lot of like small synergies that makes it really hard to kind of like play around. And the fact that they also just like go well with the, again, talking about running teams with like cool little like texts and ideas next to good Pokemon, like we were talking about with Whimsicott before. Like, still had, you know, Rotom and Togekiss on that team. Like, still
Arcanine,
really
Conk being the last two. It was like a standard team. With Gengar, Bisharp bringing
with a really, really oppressive beatdown mode. So people were like capitalizing on that, and I think it appropriately did well for a tournament. I don't imagine it doing like that great in the future, but like we'll still probably see a little bit of it. Maybe like Bisharp on like other things, Gengar on other things, but maybe not
together.
This long-standing archetype.
Both independently, they're doing great things. I think people.
I think the other thing that we talked about from that the top 8 was the elephant in the room. The Dracovish won the tournament.
Oh my goodness.
Like. I do want to talk on that just very quickly because I do think the Mon is legit, and I think that, you know, because of the whole "thank you, Mr. Fish" stuff, people have been kind of like, I'm serious.
I hated it beforehand, so
I think people have started to like glance over the Mon and treat it as sort of like a meme, and it's like, it's not like this like all-powerful Mon that like should be on like a lot of teams, but like it's very powerful in certain situations. It's just like it hits damage thresholds unboosted that very few things can fit in the format, and I won't be surprised if it has more results from here on out. And I would just implore people to take them on seriously. You don't have to respect it that much, but just like respect that it does exist.
Respect it enough to run Gastrodon?
It was like a few teams that I ran, depending on what I had on it, like it was either super easy to deal with, or it was like, okay, this Dracovish matchup is so bad that like I probably should either start from scratch or really address it.
It had to fight the 2 Gastrodons in cut.
Gastrodon's like whatever though. If you have like Vanillix is probably like the best check for it, I think. Like
okay.
I don't know. Like a little faster.
The best check is Lapras.
Well, yeah. Now it's gonna be Lapras.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. That Mon absolutely like manhandles it, and like.
Wait, do we run?
Here's the other thing. Like, it doesn't deal with what I think are the 2 best Mons in the format. Togekiss and Dragapult. Like, it plays really poorly into those 2, mostly because, while it hits Togekiss really hard, Togekiss can follow me, which puts the base power of Fish's Friend back to normal, because Togekiss has that turn. Like, those 2, like, that interaction, and then the fact that Scarf is still slower than Dragapult, and then doesn't hit it super effectively, and Dragapult just, like, KOs it with Life Orb is, like, a problem.
It actually did dodge the 2... Togekiss Dragapult teams and cut, so and fast rock slide,
good draws,
you know.
We all witnessed, and we have before, I'm sure.
Yes. Actually, that's a perfect segue for getting rid of Australia results out of my face. Bring up Play Pokemon Rules Series 3. You said Lapras. We have new GMax Pokemon, ladies and gentlemen. I was ready for some of these to be legal in February. Little did I know that series lasts 2 months because no one reads the fine print until we did, and they were like, oh, okay. So
thank you, Stephen Morioka.
Yes, that's who tweeted out and ruined all our colossal Lapras fun that we were building. Honestly, that's half the reason I had been running Lapras at events, because that's the team I built, but then I just couldn't use GMax. But whatever, less about me. Let's talk about in the rules doc, starting in Series 3, the following Pokemon will additionally be permitted to Gigantamax, or Gigantamax, what do you want to call it?
Oh my god.
In tournament play. It's habitual, I'm sorry.
Gigantamax.
Yes, alright. Alcremie.
What's my favorite one? Gigamantax.
All right. Wait, you know what? Let's go one by one and talk if any of these are relevant. Let's go off the top. Alcremie.
Max is not relevant. The only time you'll see it is if you're. It's the correct way to run Alcremie if you're gonna run Alcremie in general.
So if you see it, it should be GMax, but they're not gonna GMax.
I'm not even sure about that because like Misty Terrain is better than the healing sometimes, just not all the time.
Right.
Because there are still cases where it's like, oh yeah, I'm playing against Butterfree stuff. Let's just like set up the Misty Terrain whatever gets it. So I will retract that. It's not optimal. It's an option on Alcremie.
Right. It's just not. It's not objectively worse like some of the others we're gonna talk about.
It's not terrible.
Okay.
Healing is really lackluster. You wish it was more.
Right. Because it's only 25%, correct? Life
it's like a 6.
6. Yeah, okay. It's less.
Yeah. Okay. Next one, we got Appleton. I'll package in Flapple there. They have the same form, and like, don't use them. Please don't.
Well, no, they're different, aren't they?
Well, they're different. They look the same, but they're different. But they're also just worse than setting up grassy terrain.
One of them lowers evasion. What's the other one?
I think it's a track. Oh my goodness, I wish I remembered.
I think it heals
It might. Oh, it might be
status conditions.
Yeah. It's aromatherapy.
It's aromatherapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Set up grassy terrain.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Flapple gets the reduces opponent's evasiveness because it wants to hit. It's Crabapple doesn't even miss. I don't know why it wants that. Whatever. And then aromatherapy.
Because hustle.
Oh, hustle. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like,
so you just pair
it likes it, but you know what it likes more? Adding a choice band. To its max grass the next turn.
That's all right. You heard it here first, or you've probably heard it. Don't use them. All right, next we got Colossal, which I think is objectively correct to run GMax Colossal. Just because we've seen how good GMax Zard was. Yeah. Do we know if any type... I've wanted to test it in my chat recently, but no one's gotten around to it. Are any Pokemon types immune to the effects of the move? Like how Charizard's is... the fire types are immune to it.
I'm pretty sure Rock, Ground, Steel is immune. It's like the same as Sandstorm.
But it's not Sandstorm. Well, but you think it's the same as Sandstorm?
Effect.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll have to test that. But if that's the case, I like it a lot less then.
It's still
good though. Like that's like a 6
you don't want
VGC is
Sands
absurd.
To go up and give yourself a Spadef boost instead.
No, because you want Sun
right
more than Sun. Sand and Sun switching off. That's and either point. Way, like the damage exchange is like incredibly good. Like like you're probably anything that you're hitting super effective. It's probably getting super close to like just killing with the added damage boost after that.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't tested that, but that's I think like from when I played in like just in the raid battles, I'm pretty sure that's what came up because I would use like Rhyperior and it wasn't working against me. But yeah.
Again, it's a 6th, right? The damage.
Yeah, it's same as Zard.
It's a lot of damage. Like it's if you're talking about both Mons, it's like. You use it like once or twice, and I think over the course of a single use of the move, it's like a Super Fang on both Pokemon.
Both Pokemon, yep.
It's more than that.
It's more than that because it lasts more than 3 turns.
Yeah, because it lasts 4 turns. So
it's 4 turns. So it's more than a Super Fang on both Pokemon for using the move once on top of the damage they're already doing with the move. Yeah. And like there is only one time where you're using the Colossal, and that's when you're running Steam Eruption or Steam Engine weakness policy strats.
You could see it on Trick Room stuff.
You're not seeing it on Trick Room. It's still getting weakness policy boosted, even if it's on Trick Room.
Like Trick Room will be an option on those teams. Like I guess that's like my conclusion for Colossal. Like you can't Togekiss it where you can just slap it on any team.
Yeah.
It needs a lot of care and more support probably than like what GMax Zard would need. But that move is just so damn good.
Yeah.
That like we're gonna see it. Someone's gonna use it and like do well with it. I'm sure.
It's somewhere between like Justified Arcanine and GMax Sard in terms of like how it plays out in terms of like it's easier to bring to games than like Justified Arc is without like Whimsicott,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
but it's less easy to bring than like just like bringing the Sard and going for GMax Wildfire.
Yeah.
You can do that without the Whimsicott like really easily and like be like okay with that.
You're right.
The Colossal somewhere in the middle where it's like you can use the move without being boosted. You just don't feel like that great about it, but it's definitely still something you can do.
Yeah.
But like that's the only time you're going to see it. The thing about that is though, it's strong. It's like it's cheesy, but it's strong, and like it is something that you have to look at your team when you build and you go, can I beat this? Can I beat whatever the Surf Mon is in the format that people are using? What sometimes it won't be Scarf, but like most of the time
you can see
Raichu,
maybe.
Yeah,
I know
Scarf Dragapult, Scarf Weavile, stuff like that. That's what I've seen the most of.
Yeah.
Like those with or without a Scarf. Can I beat if that thing goes for Surf and then just like tries to use a max move and knock me out from there? So you have to remember that it also because they're surfing, they're also breaking focus ashes, which is why it's surprisingly good into something like Excadrill T-Tar.
Right.
Because if you are Scarf Dragapult, now you outspeed Excadrill and Sand, you surf, you break the focus sash on the Excadrill, you proc your weakness policy, now your Colossal is faster than the Excadrill and Sand because you went to +6 speed, and you KO the Excadrill through max. Okay. So like all that stuff happens, and all it equates to is the Excadrill dies, you go to +2, and the T-Tar can't kill your Colossal unless it's max Quake. It's strong.
I wonder if +2 max Rockfall would KO from T-Tar.
I don't think against max Colossal unless you're minus defense, because it also runs into the awkward situation where it has to pick which nature it's running, because it doesn't have a special rock move that has like ancient power.
Oh right.
So like you have to either go full special with ancient power at like 120 base power max rock from the special side, or you need to run physical and run like Stone Edge and run it from that side, because you still want to run the special fire move because you don't want to get like burnt out by Intimidate. So there's like a lot of interesting things about it that people have to figure out, like what's the best way to run it optimally, if it'll actually be strong enough to like place a foothold in the meta, or if it'll just be like too unreliable, too gimmicky, and then like not show up after like the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. I'm not really going in order anymore. Just I want to bring it up because we talked about not overriding Sun. There's another GMax that's just objectively correct because of not overriding terrain is Hatterene.
Oh yeah.
Not overriding, especially with Indeedee, not overriding psychic terrain just to go for a max fairy with confusion effect on top of that. That's just like why wouldn't you use that?
And confusion like can really just steal a match. So like if people are still stuck on like the Hatterene cores, then I think it'll show up here and there for sure.
Yeah. Like I know
Jun pretty bad.
Cypher got a second and first back-to-back at the Liberty Guardian events with just that hard trick room stuff. Like you definitely just slap.
It is the fairy move, correct?
Yes, it is the fairy.
So this is the one that I am. This is my least favorite GMX in the entire game.
Okay.
Because it's the one that I think is the most
toxic.
Invalidating of the original form?
It's the one that's most unnecessarily random in terms of like
effect.
Butterfree, you're running like if you're running Butterfree and you're going for Befuddle, like you're going for it because you're running like the Mon just because it does have the sleep stuff, all the toxic effects to it. Hat's a little different because you're running Hat just because it's a good trick room setter. It's a Mon that's already good on its own before it gets the GMX form, and by going for by maxing the Hat, which is proven to be pretty strong already when people were running Indeedee Hat the first week of the format. I still think it's like people learned how to play around it, but I still think it's like strong. It's like one of those things that every once in a while later in our format could pop up and do well. But that's what scares me is now that it has, you know, the max move that doesn't override its terrain. It's just like something that I'll be sitting there and I'll have Indeedee Hat out in Trick Room, and I'm just gonna like I want to go for Helping Hands, you know, Max Fairy, and just because it's correct to do the most damage. And now I'm just gonna start rolling Confusion, and it becomes really, really annoying from that aspect because it's a damage mon. It's a damage mon that does random things. That's like the difference between Butterfree. It's like if you're ever maxing Butterfree doesn't do damage. Butterfree just like flips the coins and says, let's just like throw it all in on the table. Hat's just like, I'm gonna do a lot of damage, and sometimes you just like don't hit yourself. The one saving grace I will save about it, why I'm not like super worried about it.
It's not spread confusion.
Confusion got nerfed last gen.
Yeah.
Right.
The 30%.
Wait, it is spread confusion though, right? I wanted to ask that because I don't know.
I don't know for certain.
Right.
That's a Dewobblefett question.
It is.
Because I know that Grimmsnarl is like the one that doesn't do it all the time like Snorlax is.
Yeah, that's what we can talk about that now.
Yeah, Grimmsnarl is a single target too.
Well, that's not this format.
Huh?
Grimmsnarl's not on this set, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it's legal?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's legal.
It's the next one. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, let's transition to that. Like Grimmsnarl is the one where it's like what? It's a 50% chance to proc on each target.
No, onto one. The one that you're targeting.
You're targeted. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I remember testing with Angel, and then like after finding out about that part, not being as interested in it anymore because like I know that we were talking about like
because the yawn effect is so good.
Yeah, like what we wanted to do was do like Incin and Grimmsnarl, and we like lead that, and you turn out into Gothitelle as you went for the Grimmsnarl GMax move. So on the second turn, you could just like protect the Goth or fake out the thing that they didn't max on their fields, and they would just go to sleep and they can't switch out of it.
Yeah.
And like the other like really cool thing about that is that the Grimmsnarl also gets Power Whip. So you have a move that changes terrain so that if people want to set up Misty Terrain on you, you can then turn it back to a terrain that they can be put to sleep on and can be yawned on.
Right.
So, yeah. Like there's a lot of like...
But the better question is, so with how it is, where it's only one Pokemon, 50% chance to get yawned, is it better than Max Dark?
Yes, absolutely, without question.
I agree.
And it's correct to run on all Grimmsnarl now.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think Max Dark is super good, but you'd prefer it on a faster Pokemon. I just don't think Grimmsnarl's fast enough towards like.
I agree.
You want darkness more than like a chance at a yawn, which, like, you get the right sleep turns from that and the right roll, then that can win you the game on its own.
If it was special attacking, maybe like you'd say that you can go towards dark because it lowers the special defense.
Right, but it's got that fat like what, 120 or something attack stat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so, they're all along like Foul Play or Sucker Punch or Spirit Break, stuff along like that category, all physical moves.
Yeah.
So it's in the same category as like Butterfree is. It's like you put them on the team not because of the GMax form, but it's absolutely correct to run the GMax form on it in case you get into like the backs against the wall scenario where it's just like, I need to start rolling the dice to see if I can win the game from here, and sometimes it just pays off. And it's not as powerful in Butterfree in that regard, but the trade-off there is that it actually does damage, so that like those, there's a situation where it's like 3 turns of sleep. First turn you roll the Max Dark, you do 50% to them, but you're slower than them. So you do 50%, you yawn them, and they deal a lot of damage to you. Then the second turn you Max Guard so that they go to sleep, and then you can finish them off with the Max Dark after they go to sleep because they were going to KO you on the second turn. Like there's some theoretical end game where that is like absolutely the way to win the game, and I expect that to come up somewhat this year because Grimmsnarl is a real Pokemon.
It is.
Yes,
that's true.
It's good.
But it's not like impactful.
Yeah, it's not a Pokemon we're usually maxing. But I think recently we've seen like an influx of more offensive Grimmsnarl. Because it has really good coverage, like here and there.
It does.
I think it was season 2, the number 1 team had like Life Orb Grimmsnarl. If I'm remembering correctly. Anyways,
you can catch like a Dragapult off guard with that, you know. Yeah. Does a lot of damage.
True.
Just sucker punch and it goes away.
Alright, I just want to get through these others before we talk about the last one. So Charizard with any abilities available now. Cool. We already know how good that is.
Solar
power. Quicker question.
Solar power.
Yeah, you just never run plays. That's correct. Cool. Alright. Pokemon, list of Pokemon you should never use anyways. Goes to Kingler and Orbeetle. But also, let me talk. That's my opinion. But their max moves specifically are also worse than their base ones. Kingler's is cool. I don't think it's better for it.
It's okay to
wrong.
All right, Tommy.
You're wrong on both.
Do you want to talk about Kingler, Tommy?
Less about Kingler, more about Orbeetle.
All right, Andy and I, I was talking in Rollout Chat, like I was saying, if anyone on this team uses any of the GMax, like you're off the team. I know, but so we're theorying GMax or Beetle, but like I don't buy it.
Let me talk on Kingler really quickly, and then I want to talk about Orbeetle specifically.
Okay.
Because I knew we were gonna have this conversation.
Cool.
Kingler's like cool. I think that its max move is better than its base form, but I still don't think it's worth running.
Right.
I think that the speed drops on a damaging move is relevant because it has Hypercutter, so it can't be intimidated. So it's something that hits really, really hard, and it's a spread -2 drop.
Right.
Okay. So that's like equivalent to a Tailwind while also doing a 130 base power move. Like it's a lot of damage. The thing is that, you know, Kingler just doesn't have enough bulk, doesn't hit that hard to the point where it's worth running. Orbeetle, on the other hand, is really interesting.
All right,
I think Gravity is a really, really, really powerful move that's really hard to fit onto teams and hard to like get value out of.
What are you trying to say, Andy?
Hypnosis, bro.
No, Hypnosis, yeah.
Dude, like Hypnosis hitting 100%, like
I know we were talking about that, but all right.
Powder, Hustle.
Bro.
Why wouldn't you just click Gravity?
Bad accuracy moves, because doing damage while you set Gravity is something that I think is kind of packaging good effects onto moves that do damage is something that's always been powerful and something that I imagine still stays powerful.
Fair enough.
And it has a good speed tier. It's 90 base speed with really, really good bulk. The thing maxes and it really doesn't die. Like, it's got like 9110 bulk, I think. Something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really strong. I'm not saying that it's very, very good, but I definitely think there's a team out there where it's like, okay, I'm running my Orbeetle and like I pair it with either like
Venusaur.
Hypnomelodic. I'm running it with maybe Dracozolt with like hustle stuff.
Venusaur.
Potentially Venusaur. Yeah. Like literally anything that could use accuracy. And that's the thing. There's a lot of things that use it. Like I said, the sleep moves, hustle, and there's a lot of like really high base power moves. And just being able to run high base power moves and like have the upside of being able to click them is very, very strong. Like you've seen like what Thunder has done for Rain in previous formats, with how strong that move is. And now you're able to do that for any move that has lower base accuracy. Like,
you're still having to run Orbeetle. So
yes, it will do like, I think it's special takes 80, which is not like great, but it's like usable.
Yeah.
It probably does like 40% of something. You put something else to sleep, and then you're able to just like kind of snowball with that.
Okay.
So I'm not claiming that it is fantastic. I'm saying that it deserves to go in the builder at least once.
Exactly.
And maybe be good. Because that's how we figure out whether or not these things are good. Is you put them in the builder, you
gotta
run
give it
against
a
a
try.
showdown ladder against 1100s, and it's like if it makes it out of there, you go cool, and if it doesn't, you just never like pick it back up again. But I think the effect is cool enough that it warrants going in the builder.
You could get CP at a Premier Challenge with it. You heard it
No,
here
it's
first.
got PC winning potential.
You could win an MSS. You could win an MSS with it.
Yeah.
All right. I won't ask where this MSS is, but
Probably New York.
whoa. All right. Calm down.
I was
calm
gonna
down.
say it.
I mean, if I can win one, anyone can. Let's move on. Toxtricity. Don't use GMax, even though it looks cooler. That's my take.
Don't use Toxtricity at all. Like, I don't care what the GMax is. Don't put it in the builder.
You think it's that much worse than Orbeetle on a team?
Yes.
Well, it is worse than Orbeetle, but Toxtricity deserves life somewhere. I just don't know where yet.
I think it's
Like,
like
I'm
a
not gonna be
decent
the guy
like
who builds for
low
it, but
mid
someone
like
out there.
special attacker. Like spread overdrive is cool, you know?
Yeah.
All right. I
Paralysis is good. Poison's bad. You have a 50-50 shot to roll a good thing on a bad mon. So.
well, no, what I'm saying, or you could set electric terrain. So like.
That too. Yes.
Yeah.
I'd rather
So I'm
set
saying the GMax is just worse than the base.
Caleb, my point. If you weren't gonna put the Toxtricity in the builder before the GMax, you're definitely not putting it in there afterwards.
All right. Understood. All right. I just realized this episode's gonna be longer because we need to talk about Incineroar or Venusaur for half an hour. I mean, probably not. But first, we got the monthly now segment of the winner of the new series update. As far as GMax is, we got Lapras now.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
I'm both excited to abuse it and am already dreading facing it. Yes,
Yeah.
Tommy?
Hot take. I think it's too slow for this format. Not on speed wise. Not speed wise. Its pacing is too slow for the format, I think.
I agree, given that I've already like experienced using Lapras without the Veil. I want to try to abuse it early in the format before like people understand just the easy ways to like maneuver around it and such.
Like my fear is that like, you know, if it becomes reliant on stuff like Gothitelle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you have two Pokemon that you're really starting to like limit your damage output, and you have to find it in other ways because the Lapras isn't gonna like do that much. I know the thing that everybody's been doing to try and make up for this is running Policy Lapras.
Yeah.
That's been the thing.
It's been the
I
same.
have done that.
That's been
yeah.
VGC's worst kept secret. Everybody's like, yo, weakness policy Lapras heat, bro. It's the best set. No, everybody's been trying it. It's okay. It's not great.
It's okay, yeah. Like I'm already considering dropping the policy.
The fact that it's on the ice move and not the water move is very strong for it, because that means that it can then chain instead of like doing the Aurora Veil stuff early. It can go Max Geyser turn 1, and then you can choose whether or not you're going to set the Aurora Veil on turn 2 or 3 without having to worry about like changing weather. Like you have the rain when you want it, and then you get the boosted damage out of like using the move.
Now, if you're not weakness policy, what are you? Because I've heard
Losing.
people talking about light
X4.
clay. Light clay is bad.
The thing that you are if you're not weakness policy is X4.
You're standing by that.
Yes.
Yeah, you're losing.
Assault vest, citrus,
No.
pinchberry.
No.
None of
It
those.
lacks damage output. Like maybe Life Orb, right? Like
No, it needs
Life
damage
orb.
output.
it
That's the
needs
thing.
damage output because that's the problem with these. I'm gonna compare it to Orbeetle, not because I think it's close to Orbeetle and like
Okay.
how good it is,
Yeah.
just because I think that there's a really good relationship to describe this here.
Mm-hmm.
Orbeetle, like the fact that it doesn't do that much damage would be aided by the fact that you can run high base power moves and hustle mons next to it. Lapras has if you're not doing I don't think the Goth thing is good. I think the Lapras Goth thing is
generally
mediocre.
agreeing with that. Yes.
I think the strong way to run it is Lapras plus the good mons.
Yes.
and you want to run good stuffs, and you want to run damage output on your Lapras because you want to end the game. You want the game to look like it's decided within the 5 turns, or however many. Is it 5 turns of Aurora Veil?
Well, it's going to be the 4 after you set it.
Right. So you want the game to look like it's decided within those 4 turns. Obviously, there can be like a turn or 2 afterwards. Same thing with like Trick Room. You want to get the bulk of your stuff that you're doing done within the turns that the Veil is up. And you're not going to do that running Goth and... Okay, something I've seen like a lot of people think of, like Goth, Incineroar, Lapras, like unless you're running Paris, which is an entirely different idea in its entirety. Like... If you're running that core, it's like, cool, you're not dying, but neither are they.
Yeah.
Like, they're just not doing any damage. And then, like, there's also the thing where we can get to the point in the format where it's like, instead of Bulldoze, the random, like, weakness policy activator will just turn to Brick Break. And...
Tommy, I'm insulted. It's low sweep Gothitelle.
What?
Low sweep.
No, you just Brick Break. You win the mirror.
Well, alright, fine. I guess that.
You break the mirror.
I had low sweep to underspeed the right period, and then fine.
So yeah, like, I'm not calling it bad. I'm just saying that there's going to be a lot of like learning curves with Lapras because I think a lot of things that people are looking at right now are pretty like, like you need damage output. This is a format where doing damage is broken, and if you're not doing damage, like. You better be like having like this really like certain lockdown game plan, and I just don't think that like screens are enough of that unless you're actually like putting out the damage to make use of it.
Yeah, screens are still good. Passive screens is like great, you know.
And then, but you're also
moves. It's like one of the best ones.
Yeah, and you're using your GMax like or DMax to set it up, so you can't have Veil up. And then have like an even bulkier, like stronger sweeper in the back, Dynamax. So
like I said before, it's packaging moves together is really powerful, and it depends a lot on how good the move that your packaging is. This is where it differs from Orbeetle. Gravity is a good move. Aurora Veil is a move that requires you to have Hail Up because it's that good. So it is inherently very, very strong. It just like, if you look at Aurora Veil back in 17 when it was like at its strongest, because we didn't see it at 18 really. The reason why Aurora Veil was strong in 17 though was because it had Lax, and it was able to put a Lax behind it with Recycle, Infinite Recovery, and just like make the Lax into this like unbeatable boss mon. For maxing the Lapras, that mon really doesn't exist in this format at current. Not from what we've seen so far. Maybe somebody finds like some hidden mon in the format that like really abuses the screens well while also not needing to Dynamax because the Lapras is Dynamaxing. So
right. So maybe something like Conkeldurr that are doing lots of damage without maxing.
So yeah, like it.
Yeah, there's a few Pokemon that do abuse screens pretty well already that we know of, but
a lot of those are still Dynamaxing, like Duraludon and Mudsdale.
Right. Some aren't though. Like Conk, like you mentioned, Sylveon's another one. Those are probably the biggest ones though.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, you just need the damage output. That's the most important thing. If you get the damage output and you can like efficiently end games in the amount of turns that you have your Veil up, you're gonna have a good time. If not, like you're gonna play a lot of like long drawn out games that you're just gonna get whittled down over time because you're not doing enough damage. That's really what it's gonna boil down to.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, we've exhausted this topic, and it's been an hour since I've said the word Incineroar. So we need to talk about Incineroar now.
To lead, it won't be as good as it used to be, but it will still pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, where were we thinking it's falling in usage? Well, so like when it first got announced, there was that like, it's funny, your name's Andy. That Andy meme from Toy Story, where he's like, I don't want to play with you anymore, dropping Arcanine, picking up Incineroar.
Yeah, I mean that's happening again.
Tommy,
You've
yes.
got to be one, Tommy.
Oh, he's number one. He is number one.
Yeah.
No, like the mon is, I think it got worse.
Still great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's still a phenomenal mon. It got worse. It got a lot worse. Like I think people are underestimating how much worse it got.
Yeah, we already know how much like Fake Out and Intimidate got like debuffed or like
the thing
nerfed.
that's so funny about Incineroar is it can be so much worse, but still be the best mod in the format because it was already that much better than everything else.
Yeah.
And that's like speaks a lot to like how strong Incineroar is.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple quick things to break down. I don't even think that Fake Out and Intimidate being nerfed are the hardest ones. Fake Out obviously nerfed because of Dynamax mechanics. You can't Fake Out Dynamax Pokemon. And Dragapult is really huge in the format right now. Ghost type that you can't Fake Out. There's also the fact that even more important, there's no Super Citrus anymore.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing where Flare Blitz, there was a joke that Flare Blitz healed you. Because you would Flare Blitz yourself, you'd ship yourself down into range where your Super Citrus was activated, and you just go back up to 75.
Yeah.
And that was really, really strong. And like Incineroar came into the game at a really perfect time to abuse that. It might still be a mon that runs the nerf Super Citrus berries and just says like, sure, I'll take the 33 because I'm the one Pokemon in the format that can ship myself down into the range where I'm actually getting the berry boost.
Yeah.
We might see Citrus Berry just because like you need the health a lot sooner, especially in a Dynamax format.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's a very real world in which Assault Vest is still just like very, very good. And like I know that Parting Shot is a big tool on its kit now that would make you not want to run Assault Vest, but
or even like running Taunt, I think would be big for it.
Yeah.
Utility.
Like you don't have Knock anymore, so that move slot's kind of like up in the air now.
Mm-hmm.
You have to choose from like Darkest Lariat and Snarl, and you can start looking to the other moves like Taunt.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some situations in which you want to have U-turn and still it still breaks Focus Sashes. It hits the Whimsicott to break that Focus Sash, which is pretty important. I know I've argued with a bunch of friends about this, about U-turn versus Parting Shot, and I think that
they both have use.
I think I like Parting Shot better personally, but I think that it is very valid to run U-turn because there are a lot of things that it does. The thing that I'm most interested about for U-turn is that it can side proc certain weakness policies, and it becomes like a really, really like interesting policy mon.
Do you want to name drop a weakness policy you're activating with U-turn?
It's pick a psychic type in the format. Competitive Goth, like.
Wow.
Like they're like it's gonna be cheesy stuff.
All right, fair, yeah.
That's what it is. I will say
you can
that
run a competitive Goth with it. You know?
Or Reuniclus.
I will say that this main thought is coming from Doubles OU because in Doubles OU we have Necrozma right now. So U-turn side procking the Prism Armor Necrozma as it bounces back, and then Necrozma goes to +2 because. We've seen Solid Rock on Rhyperior with Dynamax not being able to take out the Mon. Same thing with No Charisma. So, like, that's where my main thought for U-turn procking a policy. Gotcha. I don't think it's as applicable in, like, VGC, but, like, I wouldn't be surprised if something popped up this year. Like, oh, yeah, he's, like, you think that you're locked against, like, Goth Incineroar, and then, like, they lead the Goth Incineroar, and you lead Incineroar, and you proc the Goth, you proc the Goth's weakness policy as you switch out, and you max the Gothitelle, and you like max Focus Blast the Incineroar, and it goes away. Like
that's fair. Yeah, it's very valid.
Like, or like I'm sure there's another psychic type or like something that we can proc in the format that might be cool. Maybe a grass type. I don't know, but. Like I think there's like a world in which that's like a case, but more importantly, like it hits Focus Sashes and like Parting Shot's still good. Like you can still run both, like not both at the same time, but you can both have their uses. And overall, like Cat is worse, but it's still the best Pokemon in the format. If it's the most, I should clarify. I don't think it's the best Pokemon in the format. It's not the best Pokemon in the format, but it's easily the mon that fits on the most teams.
Yeah.
You think it will trump Togekiss in usage?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Togekiss might come close.
Yeah.
It'll be close. Incineroar, the thing is, though, it's like they basically created the perfect defensive mon for VGC, and it still fills that role. It's just a little less effective.
Yeah.
How many times
quite a bit more less
Gen
effective.
7, you'd see like Incineroar switches in. Incineroar doesn't even want to fake out. It just wants to get out as soon as possible. Yeah. So just you turned out anyways, and comes back in the next turn. Like It's still just a thing that happens in this format. Like, the only thing that it happens is that it does it like one turn less because it has 25% less health.
Mm-hmm.
This is true. All right. We talked about Incineroar, but what about the other Alolan starters that are now legal? Is this the year that Decidueye gets to shine?
So on to Venusaur.
No, whoa. No, on to Primarina. Primarina has a niche. Decidueye. Hold up, one sec.
Oh, man.
Resident Decidueye fan here.
So step one.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's step one. Step two. I can't believe I'm humoring this, but I actually think Primarina's at least a little bit interesting.
Yes. It's another Parasong Pokemon. I don't think that's why.
It has high special attack, and it is the exact kind of Pokemon that I think would benefit from Dynamaxing. Mon that has, like, not great bulk, but, like, if it maxes, it's, like, not terrible bulk.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, policy, proc your Primarina's policy, the thing just, like, becomes this monster. Like, 126 special attack is a lot. It's, like, the same as Inteleon right now, which has been seeing play.
Yep.
And now you can start running it instead on, like, that's the kind of thing where you'd see, like, maybe Fake Tears Goth stuff, where it's, like...
Are you telling me to replace Lapras with Primarina on my team? Maybe actually that one.
Who needs to set up a Aurora Veil when it's like instead of doing 70 to them and then like living the turn, you just do 110. Like,
okay,
it's not the worst thing I've ever heard. It's probably not that good of a mon, but like it will go in the builder at least once.
Yeah, and it's the only water fairy we have now. If I'm thinking about that.
Rest in peace,
Azumarill. Yeah. I forgot that was the sore subject. So, all right, before the obvious one, we'll go to Blastoise. Blastoise has Shell Smash, yeah.
So that's...
Is that going in your builder, Tommy?
Not mine. I think, like, it can probably run over a few comps that exist, but, like, I just won't be using those.
What's the calc I saw on Twitter? A +2 Blastoise has the same damage output as Scarf Ogre, or something silly like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Which I will remind you that the only caveat to that is that Scarf Ogre does the damage on turn 1, and Blastoise does it on turn 2. And we spent like 15 minutes talking about how everything in this format needs to do things on turn 1 or they die.
Yeah.
So that would be my guess. If we haven't seen Poltegeist, then I don't think we'll see Blastoise. Although it's really good in DOU because having Fake Out and Follow Me now is broken.
Oh yeah, but that combination's only legal in DOU.
DOU, like I said, it's really good in DOU. It doesn't have Follow Me in VGC, so sayonara.
All right, we'll talk about the big boy, the Pokemon that, like, I'll say it, the bigger brain VGC players are more worried about.
Bigger brain
than Incineroar.
My man absolutely ripped my bit from before the show. I should sue for copyright right now.
Yeah.
My apologies, but yes, Venusaur it's scary. Like, we have
good.
Rose Raid. I've been using Rose Raid. It's faster. It's stronger. It's not Venusaur.
Yeah. Well, where's that chlorophyll ability when you need it, you know?
Although we don't have, Zard Y, but like you could still run. What do you, Tommy? What do you think of like Torkoal, Charizard, Venusaur? Like, is that a thing?
So Charizard in Sun does a lot of damage. So if I'm able to just like turn my max Charizard turns into like Venusaur in the back, like I'm pretty happy about that. I think.
Okay, so wait, are you running non-GMax Zard there?
No,
it's set up Sun. I don't know.
No, I'm running it with Torkoal. Like,
okay. No, I was just making sure.
There's two ways that the Venusaur is going fast. It's going fast by Torkoal, or it's going fast by a max move setting up Sun for it.
Okay.
Most likely like Dragapult, right?
Yeah, I can see it go a few ways. Like if people want to use the Colossal thing, That's like a fast sunsetter if they get that going. Kind of similar to that one weird Stone Journer team that we ran into a few months back.
Yeah, I love that.
It was like Rock Polish and Heat Crash, you know?
Yeah, I didn't understand why the Stone Journer was there, but it's better than Vileplume.
Like you said, big brain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Galaxy brain.
My bad, yeah.
And then the other way it will be used is
Sleep Powder
with Orbeetle.
Oh no.
Wait,
I mean,
what did you say?
Orbeetle.
So it's gonna be Ninetales,
Oh,
Orbeetle,
yeah.
Venusaur, Charizard. You know, it's just unbeatable. You put everything to sleep and kill it all. I'm just kidding. I'm still using it, but you know.
Yeah.
So
it's in the builder.
So
it's in the builder.
Like Andy, I know that like Dallas happened and like we ran the team, but I don't think we talked like too much about it afterwards. Like it kind of just happened. We're like,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
But well. I think one of the big things I learned from that is that in this format, sleep is really, really good.
Yes.
Like putting things to sleep in a max move format is just kind of like, okay, cool. You got to max move me down to focus sash, and then you went to sleep, and like that was your game plan. Like,
yeah.
That's like something that Venusaur now gets to do, but it's also faster than everything in the format because it goes into Sun. And remember, we have dynamic speed mechanics again.
It's true.
Like, you can just like have your Venusaur on the field and say, "Oh, you let Dragapult. My Torkoal's coming in now. You're going to sleep."
Or you lead Dragapult and Max Flare for the dynamic change.
Yeah.
And I think another thing with Venusaur is it's a pretty good max candidate. Like, you know, if you're
people are sleeping on Max Poison.
Yeah, like it's not like, I'm not saying it's gonna be like super game changing, but you'll see it like in a best of 3, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's got Max Quake now.
Yeah,
like,
the odd Earth Power Venusaur.
Yeah, which is a nice little buff it has. It can hit Incineroar pretty well now. And then like Max Ooze next to like a boosted Zard is a little scary, you know?
Yeah, so the situation where I see it being good is the situation where it hits a sleep powder. They're asleep now. Now I want to start rolling for Max Oozes while they're asleep, so I can boost my special attack, boost my partner, like you said, Zard, and get to a point where when I knock out your sleeping Pokemon and you bring in them onto the back to now try and transition and beat me, you're not worried about me like sleep powdering you. You're worried about me just dumpstering you because I have like 2+2 mons in the field.
Yeah.
And like it also has max grass to set proper terrain for it. That's another thing that's really cool about this Zard synergy is that if you're running max grass on Zard, you can always just like terrain change for it and set up the correct terrain to sleep powder stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If they're running counter terrains, like if somebody maxes, that's going to be a very common thing against. It's something we've seen with playing Butterfreeze. People like go out of their way to like max whatever their electric or fairy moves are on just to like not go to sleep in a set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot more like terrain change than like something like a Lumberry that would have been years past. I haven't really seen like much Lumberry at all, unless it's like,
I think if depending on
the
Venusaur
Swagger
usage,
team.
Lum will see an uptick on certain Pokemon.
Yeah,
Maybe Goggles.
I thought like
I didn't think about Goggles. Yeah.
I thought Butterfree would do the trick, but like instead of that, people just started running teams with like 4 or 5 things that were faster than Butterfree.
Yeah.
Rather than like respecting the like sleep part of it, which is understandable. But it still had a few holes. Like a lot of the games that I won in Dallas was because of like Airstream plus sleep powder.
Yes, we talked about that for like an hour last time, Andy.
Well, yeah, I know, but like I'm not
teasing.
like bragging, but I'm looking at a lot of these teams, especially the ones like that aren't without a sand mode, which is probably the best check to that. And like they don't really have an answer to that, but people just aren't running it.
There's a reason why people have come up to me and told me, Tommy, we've been playing Series 3, we've been playing the format, and I literally just think we're running the Dallas team with GMax on the Zard, and that's just the Week 1 Series 3 play. And I'm like, you know what? That sounds right.
That's what's winning the IC, right? Because solar powers aren't.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, dude, no, you're getting memed so hard by all the random crap on the IC ladder. There's no way it's on the IC.
I had to mention it once this week.
Yeah, that was a tournament team, not a ladder team.
No.
I feel like it's 10 times harder to use just on random ladder.
You have to bring the one mode of the team to see if it like works, and if not, you have to go to one of the other like 5 modes on the team.
Yeah.
It's a best of 3 team because you have like all 3 games to test the different modes.
Yeah,
it's got like 5 half-baked modes.
Yeah,
that's
like,
why
I think but that is like one of the things that people like were not respecting was it's probably the least respected mode on the team is the Zard Butterfree mode where you just like airstream sleep powder stuff and people just like realize that they don't have options for it. That's actually something that like I came to because a buddy of mine, Rajan, I was testing with, and we were testing with Dragapults, and like we thought it was pretty cool for a while, but it never like turned out to like be like very strong. You wanted to go other ways with the team, but you know, when he ended up like trying to work on different stuff because we like reached a point where it's like I want to do something else, and like he thought something else was a little bit stronger, so we like broke apart like a little bit like those ways.
Yeah.
And I took some of the stuff from like what we were building, the Rhyperior, the Butterfree, and the Airstream, because I thought the Airstream plus Butterfree was really cool, and I kind of transitioned it into the Dallas team to try and incorporate a couple of the mechanics that we were kind of building around and like put them into a more interchangeable mold. Because it was a whole thing. It was like the Dragapult didn't like really go, like the thing about Dragapult in the Charizard slot. It's just like the modes already are awkward enough as it is. You'd have more like.
Yeah.
Division between the modes where it's like at least the Charizard goes with like you can do Charizard, Duraludon, and Whimsicott, and like you can choose which one to max and like still have the Victor stuff and do those kind of games where the Dragapult's like a lot more like harder to fit into the modes.
Now, not to discredit this conversation, but to bring it back to Venusaur, because it is very relevant to Venusaur.
Yeah,
is
Venusaur
wide lens an item you would consider? There,
I would consider it. Yeah.
Yes.
Cause I mean, like you can run Venusaur the same way that team ran Butterfree to an extent.
Yeah.
Like, sure, you can switch in the Sun Pokemon, but if you want to like start damaging and sleeping and steamrolling things, then like you kind of want your sleep powders to hit.
Yeah.
So it's
what's sleep powder at with wide lens?
82%, I think.
Okay.
Like 10% boost.
The cool thing that it does is not only sleep powder, but it also brings your Leaf Storm up to 99.
Leaf Storm, yeah.
Like I think it was if it's just sleep powder, the 7%'s a little bit hard to like justify.
Right.
But when you get both, like the Leaf Storm's like a very powerful move that you just get to run. And it makes up for like not running like a Life Orb if you want the damage output. You just run Leaf Storm instead and get to get the sleep powders, and it's like, you know. Sash is also good because I don't know the exact math, but I'd assume that the chance of hitting one sleep powder over 2 turns is probably more than the chance of hitting one wide lens sleep powder.
No, 100%.
Yeah, like you can just assume that the math is higher on that end, and like if that's the case, then it's like okay, you can like look at the items comparably like that. There is a world in which like wide lens because you need to sleep on turn 1.
We were talking about the importance of getting things done turn 1. Like
yes,
very much. So.
Yeah. Sometimes the threat of sleep powder is like just as good as actually hitting the sleep powder. Sometimes you need the powder, but like you know, leading a Venusaur against like a Trick Room setter is something that you can say like okay, like they know that they have to start leading counter leads into the sleep stuff and have to respect it. And even if I don't hit, I still force leads that way.
That's true. As someone who ran wide lens Grimmsnarl at Dallas, I can back wide lens.
You gotta hit those swaggers, man.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Swagger
and T-Wave. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We've been talking about a bunch for a while. Is there anything we're missing? Like, I guess the precedent of just the fact that now with these Pokemon coming in with home, like, I know Tommy and I both tweeted about this. Are we, all right, we can talk speculation for future series rules like Series 4, but are we worried about when certain mods are going to be legal with the DLC coming out in the future?
So, May 1st would be the
Series 4.
start of Series 4. I'd imagine that's when we get all of the rest of the GMax mons that are currently not legal that would become legal. So it's like Gengar, Machamp. There's like 2 more, I think.
Gengar, Machamp, Caparaja,
Yeah.
Garbodor.
Yes.
Yes.
The most important of those being Gengar probably
Yeah.
because GMax Terra happens to be like really interesting.
Yeah, it goes
Yeah.
Gengar, Machamp, whatever the other 2 I mentioned were.
Yeah, the other 2 are like very bad. Copperage is at least a little bit interesting because like Steel Spikes is like pretty cool, and the whole thing that's like Dreadnought's like max move would be really really cool if it was on a better Pokemon.
Yeah.
Because setting up rocks while you like if there was an attack in VGC that or in Pokemon in general that set up rocks while also doing damage, that move would almost certainly be used.
Yes.
It's just the fact that like
We're not doing damage.
you don't switch out enough to like justify taking a turn doing nothing.
Yeah.
But like there's a reason why it's very good in DOU. Like you have 6 mons, so it like you end up racking up enough damage where it makes sense to take the time.
Yeah, and Anash went and did Stealth Rock at Worlds because there was like a meta, you know, the DC Open.
You're
switching up enough. Not saying it was good
okay.
then, but yeah.
It's not the worst thing in the world to like have rocks on a mon that doesn't need the slot. But in general, it's not going to be worth a slot. It's kind of interesting in Caparaja though.
Yeah.
So that would be May 1st, right?
Yes.
2 months after that would be July 1st.
Which is notably after NIIC, which previous years it hasn't been, but the past 2 years I know we've been in June, late June.
So it would be after the last IC, be right before Worlds. And anybody who's thinking, oh, they wouldn't change the format right before Worlds, they literally did this with TCG last year.
Mm-hmm.
They dropped a set right before Worlds, and they had to play a new format with new cards that they had never played before Worlds.
And for those who don't know, the DLC is coming in June, so
yes.
Whenever in June will affect
because it's
July
coming
1st.
in June. If it were just like getting new mons, that'd be one thing. This is them trying to sell DLC. There is no reason for them to. I'm not saying that Play Pokemon is trying to sell the DLC, but there's no reason and why they wouldn't want to put the DLC into the game if we're getting
with how many views it gets, you know, like you'll see like, oh, these old Pokemon are back or whatever, people not being in touch. I think we're kind of seeing Pokemon shift like away from where they kind of value like the series or the year being like one format, and now it's like you just play with it as it comes out, and that's like what it seems like it's leaning towards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know.
I guess the other side, how do we feel about that? Like, I'm oddly down for it. We don't know all the Pokemon that are coming back yet.
Right. People have been complaining about the series cycle in general. Like, people say like, oh, Moon Series was the worst format Pokemon's ever had.
Yeah.
The whole thing is that Pokemon in general, people haven't felt that I've been playing the same format for 8-9 months, maybe sometimes up to 12 to 15 months feeling. When you're playing a format for that long, it is so easy that even by like the 6th month of the format to just be burnt out and not want to play any more of that. And like I even felt that at the end of Ultra Series, which we were playing for a lot longer than we did for Moon. But it's like not having to deal with that sort of format lack of turnover where like we're just stuck in the same format for a while. I am like super happy that they decided to take the risk and just like do the changing formats, and I'm happy that they've stuck with it despite the criticisms that I think are misplaced, because I think people fail to realize the alternative, which would be getting trapped in what could be really, really bad formats for the entirety of the year. It's like I love Sun Series. I think Sun Series is like one of the best formats that we've had in a very, really, really long time. But there's no like guarantee that had that format gone on any longer than it did, that it wouldn't have just gotten degenerative and not fun to play, because it sometimes takes like 6 months of a format for it to become unbearable and nobody wants to play it anymore. And I think that like I will always look back at Sun Series in a positive light because of the fact that we never got to the point where it was like unbearable. Ultra Series we did because we played it for so long, but like so yeah, I think we are gonna keep like doing this rotating format thing, and that's
but
that's cool, and it scares me.
It scares you. Yeah, my question is, well, I guess before I reiterate the question, people have to remember we're getting DLC instead of another game, which that's usually what was indicative of us changing formats.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, what was my point? Oh, right. So, how would you feel about Worlds being a brand new format with 200 plus odd? Well, like that's full evolution. So let's say ballpark like 35 new relevant Pokemon being added.
Hot take, I'm cool with it because we've long played a game in which our Worlds is never the same format we start the year on.
Mm-hmm.
Like since 2012, like we've played formats, and like it's probably even before that, but like all the way back when I started playing, always the format post Worlds would be the old game, and then we would change to the new formats in January, and you play a large chunk of the year on the same thing, but it was never truly the same format the entirety of the year. And there's a situation pretty much every format of somebody gaining a bunch of CP in the old format and then coming to Worlds, or like even getting day 2 off of like tournaments that are not in the format they're playing Worlds at.
Right.
So if they're gonna move towards this, we're changing the format as the year goes on kind of thing, I'm fine like busting out a new format for Worlds and just challenging the best builders to show up and like build good teams, and like changing what Pokemon Worlds is about. And it's not about being good at the format that you're playing, it's about being good at the game and being able to adapt to a new tournament, and that will just like keep the game fresh every year. And I think it's like I said, it is a scary change because there is always a chance that we get like this really terrible format for either our Worlds, or even for like in the middle of the year we just get this format where they have like bad they just don't give us like healthy months for our format. And I think that is I think it's a necessary evil, because I think it's a good change long term for the game, and it's going to be good for the overall health of the game. But otherwise, there could be some scary stuff along the way, but I think it's a really good change.
So a couple things that are you
gonna play devil's advocate?
No. I'm gonna agree for different reasons. So one of the big ones is back when I was more active in the community, as far as like prizing went and reward went, everything felt like you had to do well at Nats or Worlds to really feel like you had a good season to a point. And that was reflected with also the prize structure. Regionals back in the day, they didn't pay anything.
They flew you out.
They might have flown you out if you did well enough. Like at best, you're getting a stipend. Nowadays, though, tournaments, they're more rewarding for that specific tournament. So that's part of the reason why I think this change is okay. Because like the winner's still going to get $2,000, $3,000. Like he's going to be rewarded for his good team building, like being ahead of everyone in the format. And it won't feel like just like a flash in the pan where he was really good then and it didn't really matter for the rest of the season. And the second reason why I think it's good is because we now have like, good content creators putting out information, and we have like on Twitter, we have very good team builders sharing their ideas. So the meta's developing way faster than it used to. Like people can just pick up the game and kind of take apart a team and develop how to beat it, instead of back then, it felt like if a good team came out at the right time, like you couldn't touch it until way after that tournament. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for that reason, like I'm okay with it, like because I think people are just gonna stick with the curve. Like if they know a new Pokemon and new teams are coming out, they're just gonna do their best to like have the tools that they can. And I think everyone's just gonna it's gonna be a race to, I guess, number one, and it's gonna be fun to watch and play.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for that exact reason.
Yeah.
It sounds fun to me, and that's what Pokemon really should be to people when they're playing. Just to play devil's advocate, not for myself because I'm basically agreeing with you guys.
Yeah.
But there's a certain thing we're going to miss where we're not going to be able to compete or really find the joy of playing a solved format. I say solved because no format's really truly solved, but I know there are a lot of players who enjoy really like late, like post-Worlds formats even, where things are not really decided upon like how they are, but it cuts down on really the monotony of the randomness factor of just everything encapsulating Pokemon, where there's certain teams and you need to know how to fight them, and then you just play your best, and that's what really boils down to that. What will be missed to an extent, it's gonna depend how many updates Sword and Shield's gonna get. I don't think the first two DLCs are like gonna be the last, especially since we're not getting, from what I understand, in the second DLC, not all the Pokemon are gonna be added yet. There's still gonna be more Pokemon, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah,
cool.
I will point out one like kind of fun little story of like why I'm really excited about like this kind of world structure. Back in 2017, when like I first started doing the snowball thing, because that very first EUIC that I went to, I wasn't on the snowball yet. Like I had to pay to fly out there and like go on my own accord. And like the reason that I ended up doing that in the first place was because it was the first time that we had ever had this brand new format where the game had like just came out. There was no time before the tournament. Everybody was just kind of like scrambling to get their stuff together, and it was probably the most enjoyable time I've ever had playing Pokemon. Was that like
the time leading up to it?
Yeah, that 3-week span in between when the games dropped and when the tournament was. And like I know it's like a little bit longer now with the terms of the DLC drops in June, and then like we'd have like 2 months, but like in terms of like a Worlds prep, 2 months is not long at all. Like you do exponentially more prep that you do for Worlds than you do for like any other tournament during the year if you're really trying to make a hard Worlds push. So like just dropping all the mons on us for 2 months, like for a 2-month period, and saying that like you have one shot to digest the information, just go for it. If that does end up being the case, I think that would be a really, really special tournament that would be really unique, and I think that a lot of players would have a lot of fun with it. I don't know that Pokemon wants to do something like that. They might want to try and keep it a little bit more conservative and only release like a small amount of mons and maybe not give us a whole like lot of new information. But in the event that they do it, I think that would be like really, really cool. And I kind of hope they do, even if I'm not competing at Worlds. I think it would be like really, really fun to watch some of the best players in the game try to pick up a new format and in 2 months build the best possible team to get the best possible achievement they ever could. Right. That'd be really, really cool.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, it will have been last month's episode where I talked about, before we knew about Incineroar coming in, where Jake Muller and I were disagreeing on this. I was thinking like we could have similar series to like Sun, Moon, and Ultra series where when the DLC comes out, Worlds is still going to be VGC 2020, but the fall is going to be where the first DLC's added, and that stuff's legal. And then the spring, because it said fall, or like we're guessing November for the second DLC, that stuff would be legal in the spring. So I think like if what we've been talking about doesn't happen, I'm like super confident at the very least that's what's going to occur, because they're not going to make us wait. Yeah, they're not going to make us wait that long just to use the stuff from the DLC.
Yeah, they're giving us like a 1 month period to catch everything, it seems like, and then you play with it.
Exactly.
Which I think it's fine.
Cool. So I think, yeah, we didn't have that many topics, but there was so much to them that we really exhausted it. Thank you. All right, Tommy.
We did miss one Pokemon that we didn't talk about that's becoming legal.
Oh my god.
The one Pokemon we cannot skip over.
What's your Slowpoke team, Tommy?
So I just want to talk about it because I think it's really interesting. Okay.
Go on.
Stay with me, okay? Not interesting because I think it's really good, but because they decided to legalize the Dex entry for just Slowpoke, but not because both Slowpokes. Because Slowpoke is the Dex entry.
Yeah, but Kanto Slowpoke cannot get into the game.
Right.
Currently.
Yeah. So like you get Slowpoke, it's just Slowpoke, and it's like do we know if Eviolite works on the Mon?
It does not.
It does not. Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
It's like so weird, right?
Yeah.
Like there's so many weird things, but like I don't understand this Mon. Like why is it like? I know it's in the game to promote the DLC, but like why is Eviolite coded like that? Why is Kanto Slowpoke not in the game? Because they're gonna share a Dex entry. They're gonna share the Dex entry like every other Galar Pokemon. It's just really weird.
Yeah. Well, we'll see those like cheese like Slowpoke, like what is it, Torkoal Strats or whatever from 17.
Yeah, because it's cool. You like surf your stuff and like.
And now you're not water type, so it's not Stab Surf.
Yeah. Are you gonna put a bounty for CP?
That someone's gonna get that way too fast. I think you need a PC win with it.
If you win an MSS with Slowpoke, I will buy you McFlurry at NAIC. The first person to do it and tweet it to Caleb.
Yes, tweet it at me.
Just
the viewers, CableCast. Yes. So you heard it here first. If you win a mid-season in the future, Series 3 and beyond, first one to tweet at me, proof that you did that, Tommy will buy you a McFlurry at NIAC. All right. Fantastic.
Or your applicable internets. I will make it happen.
Yes. If Tommy is there. Tommy's not going to,
I got agents around the world. We're good.
Oh, agents. Yeah. Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
All right. I was gonna say the last thing that we didn't get to, but there's more content in the future. Just so you guys, listeners, if you want to hear about MPA and MPA related content, that podcast isn't this podcast. Well, episode. We'll have like a dedicated one in the future, I'm sure, sometime. But
I won't be a part of that one.
Neither will I.
What? Okay. Well,
a good.
I gotta focus on getting my team back up and running, back together. We had a rough week one. We're fine. Everything's fine.
Fair enough.
The dumpster's burning, but we're fine.
Rollouts, we hit soft the first time, and then we keep going. So, yeah. But again, all right, thank you to Tommy and Andy for stopping by. If you guys aren't already subscribed to the YouTube channel or whatever, Twitters are also below. Follow at T-Man. Andrew Elite. Is Andrew Elite? Who knows? But you guys have any shout-outs or sending regards before I shut down our longest CableCast episode ever?
Support your local TOs. They're doing a really good job this year.
Yeah.
That's all.
Go to locals, get those stipends, make everyone complain.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say do that for that. I'd say go back to what Tommy said, but yeah, sure. All right.
And for the glory, yeah.
And for the glory, yeah. All right, so until next time, guys, see ya.